Welcome to How to Decorate from Ballard Designs, a weekly podcast all about the trials and triumphs of decorating and redecorating your home. I'm Caroline. I'm on the marketing team.
And I'm Taryn, and I'm a product designer.
I'm Liz. I head up the creative team.
We're your hosts. Join the expert team at Ballard Designs for tips, tricks, and tales from interior designers, stylists, and other talents in the design world.
Plus, we'll answer your decorating dilemmas at the end of each episode.
We love answering your questions, so don't forget to email us at podcast@ballarddesigns.net.
Now, on with the show. Our guest today is award-winning Atlanta architect Timothy S. Adams. His firm, T.S. Adams Studio Architects, has become synonymous with classical lines and highly detailed craftsmanship. Today, we're talking about your new book, Tradition Made New, Houses with a Sense of Soul and History, which celebrates homes that feel grounded, authentic, and built to last generations. Tim Adams, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
So happy to have you. We have your book here. We've all read it, and it's beautiful.
You're supposed to just look at the pictures, by the way.
We don't know.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't read architecture books. I look at the pretty pictures.
Well, there were a lot of pretty pictures.
Yeah,
So
that's
if
the
we had
goal.
just done that, it would have also been very fulfilling.
Yes. The words are where the good part is, so we couldn't miss that.
Thank you.
Okay, as I mentioned in the introduction, you have very sort of classic sensibility in terms of your homes, but there's also a real authenticity. You talk a lot about building your projects based on the location where they are. So maybe just talk to us a little bit about, kind of your overall thoughts on building residences for your clients and why, kind of what you're going back to in terms of the styles and the location, the way that connects to the location.
All of our houses kind of respond to the site. And I think, there's a couple things at play. The client's program, kind of what they want, their wish list, style. We can do whatever we want, but we really are leaning on the client to kind of give us an idea of what they like, because this ultimately is their house. But then how does that integrate into the location? And that's the site. We do a lot in North Carolina. There's a lot of topography. We do a lot in Florida where it's flat. And in any case, we always go and visit the site before we start designing, because small lot, big piece of property, whatever it is, there's always pros and cons to everything. And you want to be reactive to that, and you want to consider all that in the initial design work. So our process is really about, getting to know the client, understanding kind of how they want to live, how they're going to use the house, directionally, stylistically, what they want to do. And that sometimes it's all over the place. Sometimes it's very, specific depending on the individual, and then take that information and then go kind of walk the property. And as I'm walking the property, I really start to place elements on the site. And in a way, I am designing the house. Now, it's not in specific of what everything is, but it is a relationship of, responding, where does the garage need to be? Because you tend to start there, how you deal with, unfortunately, cars. They just take up a lot of space and have a lot of needs. So that's kind of a starting point when you deal with topography. But, views and light and orienting towards, natural light to where you can use it to your best, in your best behalf. And then placing the elements around that. And that comes from, understanding the client, what they're wanting to do. And then from there, we start to build on that process. But responding to not only just the property, but a lot of times there's a view. We do a lot of waterfront homes, mountain homes. So these clients pay a lot of money for these views, and you really need to honor that and respect it. Sometimes, though, in the views, there's something negative you don't want. There could be a cell tower. There could be a house next door that really is offensive or just ruins your privacy. So you take all that into consideration in the early design phase. So that all kind of happens in a real, it's funny because clients will want to meet me on site, and they're thinking this 2-hour meeting, and then literally within 15, 20 minutes, you have it. You process it. This is a normal lot. Now, if it's 1,000 acres, different story. But that's a day. That's driving around. That's looking at aerials and studying that. And that's a different challenge, but it's a fun challenge. And that is more than just one site visit. That's generally a kind of a ongoing piece. You come up with a concept, you then vet it out in the field, and you might, drive where the roads would be or walk it and get an understanding and move things around. So that's a little bit different. But when your typical lot, if you will, a piece of property that somebody's buying in in one of the communities up in North Carolina or in Florida or wherever it is, you start there.
Yeah.
I picture you just standing on the top of a hill in like North Carolina and being there for like 5 minutes, being, all right, got this. Yep, there. Your client
So
being
that's
like,
pretty much is what it is.
Yeah.
I'll make it a lot more than that for the record.
you.
I will expand on it. I will. They're excited. You want to respect that.
Yeah.
And you want to kind of give them an insight inside, what I'm thinking in some direction. So I'm not going to go up there and be like, oh, all done. See you. I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. No,
Yeah.
And you want to respect that. But I go into a lot more detail with them and talk about, like tomorrow I'm going up to North Carolina and we had to move it because of the snow. So the clients can't be there. So this will be a 15-minute site visit. Done. Got it. There's also a sensibility of materiality and what works in a region, what doesn't. So we do a lot of work in places we've never worked before. And one thing I'll do a lot of is I'll drive around the community, look at the older homes, look at the architectural character, the details, the materials that they're using. That will tell you a lot about what works and doesn't work in a certain region. So when you get in, humid areas, there's a different type of material that you want to consider versus dry and arid. So a lot happens, in that time frame, but it just kind of a lot of just perceiving what's going on around you. But it's really important to understand that and think about that.
I think the perceiving is an interesting, again, I'll do thinking about it, if that makes sense. You'll drive around a neighborhood and be like, why does this feel so good? Or like,
why does this feel bad?
Yeah, why does this not work?
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like it's easier to spot what doesn't work versus what does work, Yeah,
because generally it stands out. It's forced. And that's what, a client wants a certain thing, we're going to honor that. It will explain why we may not want to, but, I did a house on West Paces Ferry. Gosh, this was 15 years ago, maybe. And they wanted to do a really contemporary house on West Paces Ferry near Pace Academy.
Which, for our listeners, the governor's mansion is on the street.
Yeah, narrow that down, yes.
It is a very traditional.
Very traditional.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I'll do it, but I don't think that's the right decision. You're really going to you're going to really stand down. It's just a few doors down from the governor's mansion. And through the conversations where I kind of led them was, okay, well, let's do an English manor house. Let's really pull it way back. So we keep the lines, it's all stone, slate, really strong materials, strong details, very simple and, clean, but nobody's going to drive by and go, oh, flat roofs and big window expanses and, monolithic materials. And it blends in and we set it back, we landscape the front, but it looks appropriate, but it fits their wish list and their desires. Then inside, we stripped it way back. It went really clean. But it was done in a way that the exterior still spoke to the interior, because I think that's important by the simplicity of the details. But if you drive by the house, you probably wouldn't pick up on it that it's such clean lines on the inside.
I would think too that would give the house more longevity. Most people are designing for themselves, but you do want to build something that that other people will appreciate and you can sell. And not that you're designing for resale, but something that has staying power, I guess.
Yeah, and those are conversations we have with clients because they're like, this is our last house. I said, that's fine. And again, if you want to just do one bedroom, knock yourself out. But I also say to them, what if in 10 years you come across the most unbelievable piece of property that you can't pass up? And now you've kind of saddled yourself with this house that's not really marketable. Not really a driving decision maker, but it's a conversation that should be had. And usually they're like, yeah, we probably just need to consider some of these other things. But also, we're trying to create architecture that, I use the word soulful and soul because I think timeless is just used so much nowadays. And I've not to use that because I feel like it is kind of just this word that's tossed over. And so I really kind of gravitated towards soulful architecture and something that if we do our job right and we design a house that's rooted in the right materials, the right proportions, the right details, yet lives in this century, it's not, we're not designing for the medieval times, but we can draw from that. And if we put it together properly, then I feel like that house has soul. It's kind of like antiques have soul and that's there. And so when we put all that together in a way that it feels right, like we were talking about a minute ago, then I feel like in 20 or 30 years, the house is still relevant. It's not, you hate to say it, some of the trends that we've gone through, and we always go through them. If you really kind of boil it down to what makes an architecture work and then bring that into the house, it's going to have that sense of soul in mind.
You were talking about, and you do a great job in the book of this, of you have these fantastic lots, many of your clients. And so you mention in the book in certain projects where you're kind of echoing the shape of the house around the topography.
Mhm.
And that obviously makes total sense. I'm curious what that process looks like when it's a square lot in, a subdivision or something. You may not be doing a lot of those projects, but is there something that our listeners who maybe they are building a house and it's a beautiful vista view of Hines, North
Mhm.
Carolina, what kind of things should they maybe consider in the way their house is positioned that will, make a difference in the livability?
I think it goes back to and we do houses on narrow lots, and we're doing stuff in Florida where Palace Beach is
True.
35
Yeah.
feet wide. I mean, it's very, internal focused.
Mhm.
So no, we deal with that a lot. Again, it is very site responsive because, if you've got a garage and a driveway to the left of your house for your neighbor, and then a kitchen window on the right-hand side, okay, well, we need to think about where we place our windows, where we place our master bedroom or our primary suite. How do we arrange these things? And it depends on the width of the lot. Sometimes we can get more of a U shape or a courtyard type thing where we can focus ourselves in. A lot of times, particularly here in Buckhead, we're really focused front and back. In the sides, yes, I'm gonna always have windows and contemplate what that architecture looks like. But I want to try to be conscious of what they're looking at, what they're doing, what that room is. Not put big windows in the master bedroom looking at somebody's garage.
Right.
We will intentionally focus towards the back because you don't want to,
no,
right?
That's awful.
So
Yeah.
that's one of the most important things about walking the site is making notes of what's there, what's positive, and what's negative.
Mhm.
And even then, you still have houses behind you. Landscaping becomes really important to create privacy. Or if the budget allows, do you have a pool house in the back? There's a house in Louisiana that's in the book. You probably picked up on it, but when I walk, it's a very big lot, and it's on the Viridian River. And there's kind of a bend in the river, and I walked out there, and I told the client, I said, the one bad thing is we've got this huge white Greek Revival house across the river from you. And it's not that it's a bad house or an ugly house. It's just this white. So you got all this green, and then you got this monstrous white house
Mhm.
that when I walk in the lot, I'm like, that just draws your eye into it. And I knew that he loved orange and citrus trees, lemon trees. He had grown them. And so I knew that there was kind of that thread of history, if you will, of what he's done in his gardens. So I said, I know, we're going to do an orangerie. I said, so Frankie,
Fabulous.
what if we propose an orangerie at the back of your sight line coming through the main space to stop your eye so you're not looking at the white house? And then what it does is it turns your eye up the river. So now you're looking up the river at a pretty view versus the house. So walking the site is paramount. And I get people interviewing us and saying, hey, we don't need you to come to wherever. We're talking something in Kansas the other day. And like, well, do you really need to come? And I'm like, I won't do your house without doing it because I'm not doing my job properly.
Yeah.
So even it's a large piece of land, the nuances of all that's so important.
Yeah. That seems like a great takeaway for anyone building. Like,
Yeah.
if your architect that you're talking to doesn't want to come to the physical site, maybe that's a red flag.
It definitely is a red flag because they're missing out on one of the fundamental pieces in my mind.
Yeah.
And, we get asked all the time, can I buy this plan? We don't sell plans. And I tell them it doesn't, that house was designed for that site. Generically, it may fit all the family needs of, most families, but it was designed for that particular spot and location. And so I'll tell them it's a great place to start because I know what you like, but let's do it right. And let's, put together something that's responsive to all of these pieces.
Yeah. Do you think there are any instances in which one of those plans, like Southern Living used to sell their house plans. Are there any situations in which that works and, could be a good fit for someone?
Absolutely. What we do is not inexpensive. It's a
Mhm.
lot of time. It's a commitment. Um, we put a lot of energy into it. So, it's not a cheap thing to do. And I respect that. And I will have people call me and talk to us. And I said, look, I don't, for your budget and what you want to do, we're not the right fit. You don't need to spend the money on us. And then a plan, something like that. The Southern Living plans are great. And they work really well on fairly generic lots, if you will. So when I say generic, not boring, more something that doesn't have a lot of topography,
Mhm.
is easy to work with. You are going to compromise potentially some, you looking at your neighbor's kitchen window or something like that, and you could probably make some adjustments on that. But there definitely is a time and place for it. And I will say we've done a lot of work in Watercolor, Florida, and some of those communities, and it works really well there because you've got this your site's 50 by 90, and you've got a 7.5 foot setback on each side, and it's flat,
Hmm.
and you're building every bit of that. So the box is the box,
Right.
and there's so on. You have to have a porch here. You have to have a 2-story porch here. So
Ah.
it really, I really kind of stopped designing there because it got boring, if you will. I don't want to say that. Loved some of the houses we did there. We may want to take that part out for our clients in there. But it got to the point where we're just regurgitating the same thing. And you're
Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to be creative and trying to give something special to each client.
Yeah.
But when they tell us you have to do, 8 out of 10 things, well, then it comes down to where do you put the great room? Is it in the front or the back?
Yeah.
How does everything else
Right.
work inside this box?
There are
You're
only
not gonna
so
be
many.
There are so many
The
solutions.
kitchen's
So.
on the 4th floor to make it creative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
We thought we'd really kind of throw you a loop. Yeah, I don't think that'd go really well.
Yeah. Probably not.
So there's definitely applications, and I completely recognize what we do is not for everybody. Hopefully someday they will be there, but it's not for everybody. And I think it's a great thing. And there's some beautiful plans that you can purchase online if you're really kind of selective and look hard enough.
Mhm.
So
Well, how when you have a plan, like, I imagine maybe how are you placing it inside the lot, right? Like, is that something that your contractor would help you do? Or
I think a lot of people work with their contractor, their builder,
Okay.
and they place it there. And most good builders have a pretty good sense of what works and what doesn't work. And that's, again, it's just understanding the lot and the topography and what you're working around.
Mhm.
But generally, that's how it's done. Or they may engage a landscape architect or civil engineer to help out with that
Yeah.
if there is a little bit more work to be done.
You talk about in the book how you say something, it's like subtle features can make a
I didn't know
tremendous.
what I said. I've not
I
read the
wrote
book
it.
but once, believe it or not.
Wait, what?
Well, you did
I only
say
read it
it.
once
Like,
when I-
well, you,
No,
you
I
like
know, I
wrote
know.
it, so I can see why you're like, I only need to read
It's
it
a really
once.
weird thing. Obviously I read everything multiple times. I was writing it with the writer. But I read through it. I don't think I've read through it again since I got in hard copy. Which is kind of a weird
What
thing.
came out of your brain? What do
Yeah.
you read it for?
Well, you supposedly said.
No, I
Yeah.
said it. I do know that. I will back that up.
Or maybe Chat GPT. Just kidding. I know you didn't. But
This is pre-chat.
Okay,
Ooh,
fair.
there we
fair.
go.
Okay, you said subtle features can make a tremendous difference. And I really, and you were talking about how sometimes small, I guess, gestures or elements within the design can really change the
Mhm.
feel of the
Mhm.
house in general. And I was kind of thinking about someone, if they're building a house and they're working with an architect, how they might know when, because we were doing an episode a couple weeks ago about all the things that happen in the build process and, little changes that happen. And, there's a lot of elements all coming together. And sometimes you might be compromising on things. How
Mhm.
do you know that the things that you're compromising on is something that's going to make a really big difference, or something that is something you can live with?
I take the approach when I'm designing a house that I'm going to give you my best, but my best ideas, my best design, whatever I can. And I'm going to listen to you as well. And a lot of times we'll put something on paper and the client, it's not really what we were thinking. But then I'll go through and explain why we did it. And then they're like, oh, wait, that's exactly what we wanted. And so those nuances are really important. That comes from listening and understanding and really reading between the lines with clients. But there are times where clients like, I don't want to do that, and I really just don't want to do that, and fine, we won't do it. And I've said many times in the back of our office, I'm like, they don't really realize what they gave up, and they never will, and nobody ever will, because that moment is past. And sometimes that does happen, and for whatever reason, they can't get on board with it. They just sometimes it's budget driven, sometimes it's just stubborn, whatever it is. So the really kind of sage clients we work with and really, I don't know how to put this, have either done it quite a few times or are very comfortable with themselves in business or what have you, and they trust people. They trust the people they hire. They'll ask. They'll say, if we take that out, am I really making a mistake? And I'll be honest, I say that to me, that's a 50-50 kind of cool, not a big deal, or yeah, you're going to miss something, and it would have been a missed opportunity. So I think if you're really smart and you want to get the best out of an architect, ask those questions. Why did you do that? I don't understand it, but why did you do it? And what's your thought behind it? And do you feel passionate about it?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I don't feel passionate about something. I'll tell a client, it's fine. It's a neat detail, but there's other things we can do just as cool that will accomplish the same thing. Then other times I'm like, you're really messing up.
Can you give us some examples of something that is something that will really make a difference?
A lot of times it's materiality.
Okay.
There's a time and place for things. And again, I always try to be conscious and sensitive to a client's budget, because ultimately, if we design something that's so far out of reach, it's a waste of time. There's nothing good that happens with that. So I always tell my clients, I'm going to push you. We talked about your budget. I'm going to push you a little bit, because I feel like if we push the envelope a little bit and then we have to pull back, we're pulling back, but we're pulling back we started at a higher point, right? So I said we designed to 11 and we make some cuts, we end up at a 10 or a 9 versus starting to design at a 9, we end up at a 7. So a lot of times it's materiality, something like that. Sometimes it's a detail they don't understand. A good example is I had a house on Lake Kiwi I did for a client. This is the second house I'd done for him. And we detailed everything out. We drew it and they started construction. We had drawn all exposed rafter tails, which doesn't sound like a big deal. But when you start to see a house that's on the lake, that's meant to be a little more rustic, and you got the repetition of these little details, and you just see a little bit of it, but it continues down the house on all the sides. And the builder convinced him to take that out and do a closed soffit, which there's a time and place for everything. That wasn't the time and place. And we went out there and it was too late. And the client is like, yeah, he's told me I'd save a couple $1,000s. And I said, it wasn't worth it. That was a huge mistake. And I wish you guys would have talked to us first. But the builder, which we don't work with him anymore because he really burned that bridge, rather than have the conversation and let's see what we can do to maybe we save money elsewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
But not there. And so it's little things like that can happen. And it really altered the design significantly. And later he regretted it. The owner did. He's like, yeah, I understand why you were so passionate about that.
Yeah. That's so hard to hear that it's just a couple $1,000s. Like I could imagine if it's like, a whole lot.
$30,000,
Right.
$20,000.
Yeah. But
it was not
like,
much in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Like,
and we probably could have done it in a slightly different way that would have saved him enough money to where it would have been a minimal change cost-wise.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, the client really is not strapped for money. It wasn't, I don't even think it was that much for him, other than the builders didn't want to do it. And he convinced him that this is what he should do. And because I know the client, he's done just fine. So I don't, I mean, he might spend that on a couple dinners and a bottle of wine. You know? I mean, when you put it in that perspective, but it was just the builder kind of got over his skis and had his ear. And so, we try to interview our builders and make sure that they're team players. And that, when something like comes up, talk to us first. Let's have that conversation. If the client's passionate about it, then let's all talk about it. But let's not deviate from what we've worked on.
Yeah.
I imagine you do most, I know there's parts of the architectural, like the design process where you're really doing the plans, but then there's also the project management and like during the construction part. What would you say to someone that is not necessarily planning to have the architect stay on during the building process?
That happens from time to time. We're including construction admin as part of our fees, because we feel like it's a really important piece of the project, that the project does get better when we're involved the way through. And I don't like to make changes during construction because it's not about that. It's more about, and it's not about checking the builder either or managing him. It's more about being available and reviewing shop drawings and materiality and making sure we're picking the right colors and making sure the stone's right and the mortar's right and are we laying it the right way? Does it fit our vision? And we design a house and that's it. So it's not a perfect process. And there are times where you go out and you're like, we should probably look at that trim detail. It's not quite coming together. And so little nuances like that can elevate a project by us having an extra set of eyes from a creative perspective, makes a tremendous difference. If somebody doesn't want us to do it, we'll respect that, and that's fine. We don't want to be adversarial in anything we do.
Right.
But we try to explain to them, we got a house right now that happened. And I told the builder in the background, and I said, look, I'm not walking away from the project. We still want to do this stuff. I don't care if we don't get paid for it. I want to make sure we get it right because it's a really nice house. And so we'll just take it on the chin, and it's not a big deal. Because it's more important that when we're all done, that it comes out right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a big investment that you do want to have, someone with your skill and knowledge and experience to really follow through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the builders appreciate it too, because one of the first things I tell a new builder that I've not worked with is, look, this is a team effort. We're here to support you, not fight you. And we want to be part of that team, and we want you to reach out to us with questions and clarifications and what you need. The vast majority of the clients get it and they want it. And, when we interview, I tell them, look, I'm with you from now until you move in. So, and then a little bit after that, because I think it's really important and you establish that relationship. But there's some that, and usually, again, it's like I was saying earlier, the clients who have been around it enough and have done it enough and value kind of your role, they're the ones they get it and they understand it.
Yeah.
Some people think we're like getting in the way of the builder or helping the builder. We're like, no, we're not doing his job. I don't want to do his job. We're supporting him.
Yeah, you're giving the direction, yes, from the beginning of what the client wants. And so again, the builder is supposed to be just helping that process. So
yeah, he's managing the process and bringing it together and making sure that things stay on track.
Yeah. But there are a lot of moving parts and lots of things can go wrong and adjustments maybe need to be made for better or for worse. And yeah, you're there to make sure it's still getting to the same point.
Right. We're trying to hit the intent.
Yeah.
A little thing, that's not really a little thing, is window shop drawings. I can almost guarantee you so when you do a project, the builder sends the windows out to get priced. That manufacturer sends back the drawings of all the windows, what's been priced. And I can almost guarantee you every time we review one of those, there's 2 or 3 mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's usually the light pattern in the windows, or there's a missing window, or there's a size that's wrong, or proportions are off. There's always something, and a builder's not going to always catch that. But it seems like 99% of the time, something is overlooked. And once you sign that thing, you're committed. You own it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were talking about construction admin. What would be like a general idea of the cost compared to the overall architectural?
That's hard to answer.
Well, like, would it be like 5%, 10%? You know what I mean? Like,
just to give
people an
10%
idea.
of the fees.
Okay.
So, and the reason I'm giving a vague answer is because there's such a wide, is it a 3,000 square foot house? Is it a 15,000 square foot house? So it's hard to quantify that.
Yeah.
But generally it's around 10%.
Okay.
And, sometimes we do it hourly because we know the builder. We're like, he's not going to, he's going to do his job. He's going to hit me when he needs me. Otherwise, he's going to roll. And if there's a problem, I'll know about it in advance. You don't need to pay me as much because you got the right builder. And I'll tell clients that up front. And others come in the door. I'm like, I really like him, but he's going to wear us out.
Yeah.
So you're going to pay for it. And that's fine. But recognize he's going to call 3 times a week or 3 times a day. And he's going to need us out there all the time. And as part of it, he wants to make sure he's doing it right. It's not a bad thing. But he's maybe a little more insecure about what he's doing versus another builder. And I've got builders all over like that we work with all the time that fall in different categories.
Who do you find most people are hiring first, the architect or the builder? The architect?
Generally the architect, yeah. I would say 9 out of 10 times we're in the door first.
And then do you ever give like suggestions or recommendations about builders that you think are a good? Yeah.
So our role I tell clients in the house, we now work for you. We're your manager. You're your point person. And as we go through the process, I'll want to recommend several landscape architects, several interior designers, several builders. Now, COVID, you had to just pick a builder and get in line because you were waiting 6 months. So we'd be picking a builder when we, had a concept and you just accepted that. But I would help them pick that builder and, they'd probably go interview 2 or 3 and then say, that's it. But generally I like to give several names. There are times where I feel very passionate about somebody that it's a fit.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, this is the right person. If you don't like them, then we'll give you some other names. But generally I don't have relationships with any one person, whether it's landscape architect, designer, or builder. Because I feel like every client has a different personality. So part of what I'm trying to do is marry up who's going to connect well with that family. So that it is a win because it's a lot of time and money you're spending with this person. So I like to build a team. I like to, present them to the clients, let them pick who they can connect with.
Yeah. What kind of traits are you looking for in a client and a builder to pair them up? Like what kind of matchmaking?
It's like a matchmaker. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like
a lot of it's personality. Some people who are executives, for instance, they're going to want buttoned up numbers, They want to see every line on, they want to see a rolling budget that when they want to see, things going up or down and kind of pairing along. Others are like, I just want it done. I want it done right. So it really is a personality thing. And you've got some builders who are really, most of them come from a commercial background and move into residential. They're very organized, buttoned up. And then sometimes it depends on, some builders have a big team. And so you're not really dealing with a builder per se. You're dealing with the superintendent. And so in that case, I'll want the client to meet the project superintendent because I'm like, that's the guy you're going to see every day when you're out there.
Yeah.
This guy's great. And because he's there, stuff happens right. So I'm not discounting what he's doing because that's very valuable. But this is the guy when you walk on the job site, it's going to know everything about it, ins and outs. If you have questions, that sort of thing, he's your guy. And so you need to meet him before you hire this builder. And then some people want to have that relationship where it's one builder who's just doing a couple projects at a time. Maybe doesn't have all the back of house stuff. It really is interesting as you get into it, how it kind of unfolds with who fits with who. And, with landscape architects, it's similar because some are really good with gardens and details. Others are, more broad and big picture. And some clients want the little fussy kind of gardens and a lot of detail and they love gardening. Others are like, I want low maintenance. I want it to look pretty and I don't want to touch it. So you kind of to marry some people in that way. And then with interior designers, it's a lot of times personality and style. There are some interior designers who have a wide range of style, and then there's some that are very kind of, they have their lane. And that's a great thing. There's one's not better than the other. It's just that's where they've picked to be, and that's what they do, and they do it really well. So a lot of it, I'll talk to the client's personality, and then try to marry the personality with the style that they want.
The idea of the contractor with a number, that makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't have thought about maybe that when picking someone. And then when you were talking about the superintendents of the site, will the builder tell you this is who you're building?
We'll ask.
You'll ask. Okay.
Some will.
Yeah.
Some will say, I've got this guy pegged. He's finishing up a job. He'll be rolling off that about the time you're going to start, and this is who we're thinking. Others I'll just ask.
Yeah.
And a lot of them won't know. I'm like, oh, you'll love him. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Or I'll be like, you guys will fit. And then I'll go talk to the builder and say, this is not a good pair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Because I want it to work.
Right. That's just that I wouldn't have thought to ask about who that person would be.
Yeah.
Because they're not the person you're interviewing. But to your point, they're the person you're talking to
They're
when
the
it's
person
happening.
you're going to see out there every day.
Yeah. Another thing you talked about in the book was focal points and creating like a central focal point, and then having all those focal points have a sight line to like the next focal point.
Mhm.
I love that idea. Can you explain that for our listeners? Because that was something that to me, I could really visualize that and see how that's leading you from one room to the next. And I'm not sure that that's something that I would have thought of, that the
Right.
next sight line or the next focal point should be visible from the first one.
Yeah, I think no matter how big the house is, there needs to be consideration of how you're going to flow and what you're going to experience in that flow. And it's little things like putting a window on center with the hallway when you're coming down the hallway versus having it split where you're looking at a mall, right? Now you're not seeing out. But it'll draw you into spaces and it'll help you move around. And sometimes it's just an art wall that's very intentional that pulls you to a space and sets a mood. But even in a small house, you can do that. And it's just it's really kind of focusing and being very conscious of where your openings are, how they relate, shifting walls so things center up in a line. I'm very asymmetrical, so it's not like I'm this fiend with symmetry and everything I do, because that is not me at all. I'm the opposite of that. But in design, I think when you get into a room, things need to be balanced and symmetrical and relate. It doesn't mean everything's equal everywhere it is, because you can balance things with a fireplace or a window, or you can offset things. So it's not even about that. It's about understanding relationships. But by doing that, then the house becomes this experience. And that's one of the harder things when people want the open concept, because now suddenly you've kind of taken away some of that. And there's definitely a trend moving away from that, which I'm excited about. We're getting back to more kind of traditional rooms and spaces and breaking things up a little bit. But, just always thinking about, as you're moving through the house, what are you experiencing? What are you looking at? Never do you want to walk into a corner of a wall coming down a hallway or see the corner of something. I will work really hard to move that, because that drives me crazy. It just visually seeing that is not a good thing.
Yeah.
Kind of splits everything in half.
Yeah.
I want to talk
We're
about
fighting over who gets to talk
materials.
next.
A lot of the homes that you're featuring in your book, like they are perfectly placed in the landscape. They feel like they've been there forever. They have like a natural patina to them, but they're new. What are some things that you're thinking about when you are choosing materials for a piece? Is it structured around like the style of the home, or like what gets you excited about materials? Because it's clear that you have a definite vision for the materials that you use.
Well, first of all, what gets me excited is real materials. You can't do that with synthetic materials. It doesn't age. It doesn't patina. It doesn't really, it always looks new. So that's kind of paramount to all this. And granted, we have to make compromises based on budgets, stuff like that. But our goal always is to try to incorporate the real thing, and maybe we work something else out to accommodate financially using more stone or managing that. But I think the fundamental kind of takeaway is you've got to start with the roots of something. And so a client will bring us 10 images, 30, 100 of houses they like. Someone will bring us one. But in that, you generally can find a theme and a direction, and they may not know what it is. But in what they're showing you may not even look like an English Tudor house, but it tries to. So then you start to educate them about what that is. And that becomes kind of your palette of materials that you build from. And when you do it that way, then it kind of gets that responsive nature. We see things and we feel things. So that gets you that feeling that you want. And then just, letting them age naturally. Like the book on the cover, that stone's of North Carolina. It's called Doggett Mountain. But it's a native stone up there, and it's very responsive to what's there. It feels right. And it's already got some patina and age on it. So that's always helpful. Granite, we use a lot of Lithonia granite, which is a hard one, because when it comes out of the ground, it is that blue-gray color, but it does patina really nicely over time. And it takes a few years. So that's a little more challenging, but it will get there. So it's just really all about understanding the basis of where you're coming from and then really picking the right materials and then balancing that, not getting too carried away with one thing or another. So.
Yeah, you can tell in your book, obviously, that the materials are just such a focal point. So much stone and beautiful beams inside in some of those mountain homes. And again, I'm sure it's based on, because it varies, of course, with your landscape. I was wondering, what are people asking more for? Because you talked about, again, not that we're going back to rooms versus open concept, like people are feeling more intentional. Is there certain spaces that people are expanding on, contracting on, different spaces? I know we've talked a lot about sculleries in the past few years. And
Sculleries
people
are
are
still huge.
People are still doing it.
I
Okay.
love them. I mean, I think it's a great way to keep your kitchen clean,
Well, not that the kitchens are like the hangout point.
Well, they
Like
are.
we've somehow.
No matter what we do, people live in the kitchen. That's when you entertain.
Yeah.
So I think, the trend I'm seeing is, which I'm excited about, is people are now engaging in rich materials and colors and we're seeing on the interior design with all the wallpapers and, going back to some of these amazing, Gracie and Zubair and all these different wallpapers with lots of patterns and patterns on patterns and moving away from the whites and the gray tones and just kind of that stark transitional and beyond, which is great. We've always, like, even in that, we were always pushing for, okay, well, if we're going to do white, let's do wood walls so there's a warmth. It's not sheetrock painted white. It's a wood wall that's painted white. So there's inherent kind of wood, or a plaster that's got inherent kind of warmth and natural feeling to it. So even though it is a gray tone or a white tone, it still has some richness to it. So I'm seeing that. I'm seeing a lot of people are wanting smaller spaces, more intimate spaces. They're the idea of the big. Obviously, there's going to be the family / great room, the gathering spot. But I'm seeing a lot of people really want to have like a den or a little parlor that is scaled back and it's intimate. So if it's an empty nesters, the two of them, that's where they'll watch TV. That's where they'll hang out and have coffee and spend most of their time. So starting to get some more spaces back like that. Still not seeing, a living room and a family room necessarily, but it's leaning a little bit towards that. And then dining rooms seem to be coming back a little bit more in a movement away from, the one space where you're eating, dining, and cooking at the same time.
Yeah. What about home offices?
Yes, definitely.
Still a lot of
home offices. And especially now, the ability to work remotely. So many people, particularly in second homes, it may be just, a little small space, like half of this or a third the size of this room, but a place where they can close the door, have a conference call, a Zoom call. They don't want to work all the time, but they also recognize that gives them the ability, if they can do that they can be there more.
Yeah.
Right.
So because of the ability to work remotely, that's definitely kind of coming back. It has been for a little while.
What about more in the kitchen trend? Because I do feel like they have gotten so big. So do you feel like the size is kind of still, a big grand scale meant for entertaining?
Well, for us, it's more of a case-by-case situation. I mean, one of the first things we ask clients, do you entertain or not entertain?
Yeah.
And then if it's, yes, we entertain, is it 10 people? Is it 100? And they say 100, I'm saying, okay. Challenge.
Yeah.
How often is it 100?
Yeah.
Is it
You need
once
a catering
year?
kitchen. Yeah.
Right. And then that's where we go.
Yeah.
We bring in a catering kitchen. So for me, two things. It's about lifestyle. It's like how you live, how you entertain. The person that cooks for, several couples, it's going to be a little bit smaller. But and then the person who's entertaining big time, they're going to have a big scullery or a catering kitchen and full setup cooking back there. The other thing is, it needs to be kind of proportionate to the house. If we're doing a 35 by 4,000 square foot house, the kitchen needs to kind of work. All the spaces need to be need to relate to each other. So then it feels right.
Yeah. Is there ever a mismatch between the size or the scale of the house they're wanting and the needs?
Every time. People always come in saying, I've run my rooms, I've measured them all out, and I've come up with 3,200 square feet. And I'm like, you're forgetting about walls and circulation and all these other things. So I can't tell you how many times and this is mostly with empty nesters. We want to downsize. We don't need the 10,000 foot house. We don't need all that. We want to downsize, and we want to get to 3,500 square feet. I'm like, okay, well, what do you want? And then they start rattling off ensuite bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, master suite, all the different pieces. I need an office. She needs an office. I'm like, well, you're at 5,000 to 6,000 square feet. You've got to decide what you want to do to make it work. And it's just funny how that dynamic always plays out.
In theory.
In theory. And if you're to accept and understand, the scale of things can pull way back, it's doable. It's complete. We're doing several houses that are 3,500 to 4,000 square feet. But the client needs to understand what they're getting and make sure that that's what they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like when, the challenge with an empty nester, though, is that you probably have grandkids, they're coming to visit, maybe they live out of state. And then
they need a bunk room.
Yeah.
And then they might need 2 bunk rooms, one for boys, one for girls.
Once you get all their kids and their kids, you're not really downsizing all that.
Oh, the conversation is, well, we want to downsize, but we have 3 kids. All 3 are married. They all have 2 or 3 kids.
And we want them to come visit.
And we want them, we want to make it so that they would, because usually these houses are in spectacular places.
Yeah.
And so the kids are going to come.
So in that instance, do you do, and there were a couple books or a couple houses in the book where you had like a guest house or something. Is that kind of where you go? Like, okay, well, the normal house is going to be slightly smaller, but we're going to add some.
Yes. I mean, we do, we talk about that a lot, and it's a budget thing too. Cause once you pull it out of the house, it's definitely more expensive to build that guest house, but it sure is nice. It's definitely a great way to work it. Some people love that idea. Other people don't want them far away. And they want them under the same roof and that sort of thing. Yeah. And it takes property. You got to have room to work it. There needs to be space between them. Otherwise, it doesn't feel natural. So those work better on, several acres of land.
Yeah. But, so do they then just sort of, because if the goal is to have a house where you're using every room, but then you really only need certain rooms when guests are there. I mean, do you just sort of accept that you're not going to use every room?
Yeah. And generally we'll take the secondary bedrooms and move them upstairs, or if it's a mountain lot in the basement, a lower level. So there's some efficiency there. And then put the stuff on the main level that you're going to use. We're doing a lot of houses up in North Carolina where there's the primary, and then there's another guest bedroom on the main level, because their friends that are coming up are their same age and they don't want to do stairs either. So, and then there'll be like 2 bedrooms up or down for kids. And then when all the kids are there, they've got room.
Yeah.
It's all about compromises at some point. All of what we're doing is compromises. It's, do you want to have this material? You want to have that material? Do you want to have this big of a house, or do you want a smaller house? Well, if you have the smaller house, can I accommodate what I really want?
Yeah.
Every now and then we get clients who, I got 3 kids, we need to do all this. And then about halfway through the conversation, like, oh, we don't want them all around at the same time anyway. So just cut it all back. It's like, okay, easy enough. You make that decision, not me.
Yeah.
But sometimes clients will get their budget back and like, well, we need to scale back. We want to cut some rooms out. And I said, okay, what do you want to get rid of? Because this is everything you asked for on the list is in here. And usually what happens, about 10 minutes of them going through the plans, like, we'll just have to live with it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to make that decision for them. I can kind of give them the different solutions and the options, but they've got to make that decision of what they want to give up to do it right.
Yeah.
Okay, before we started recording, of course, we were having a great conversation about AI and technology. And I was curious about, there was such a trend for a while about smart houses and, having, like AI Google have all your locks. And then we were hearing a lot more about people wanting dumb houses where there was not a lot of connectivity. What is your sort of thoughts on that?
Personally?
Yeah.
I want a dumb house.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of going in a different direction maybe, but I think there's a lot of concerns about security and stuff like that with all that. And I'm not a computer person, obviously, but I think there's some issues there that people need to be aware of, because look, if they got a camera on your security pad, they can see in your house.
Yeah.
Like it or not, it's there. Put a piece of tape over it. That's kind of one aspect that people need to consider. And some people love that. They love to connect. They want to be able to drive up to their house, wherever it is, and leave and turn the air conditioning down to 68 and they walk in, it's perfect. That's awesome. Some people don't want that. Some people don't want to worry about it. Some people want to walk in a room and hit a light switch. Others want to get their iPhone out and say, okay, set
Yeah.
this mood and do that. So it's really a personal preference. A lot of my clients have had those smart homes and all that stuff, and they get very frustrated because something happens, they can't program it, and now, it's the Saturday night, they got people coming over, and they can't get a tech over to fix it in time. I hear that a lot. So I think I do like a balance of that, because I think the Lutron lighting systems are wonderful, where you can control the whole house, you can turn the lights on, you can bring your shades down. There's so many nice things about that application.
Right.
But we talk a lot about, okay, well, let's have a redundancy in some of this stuff. And maybe in the closet, we do a bank of switches. So if something's off, you can go turn some lights on, or you just want to walk in this room and you just want to hit a switch because that's the way you live at that particular time.
Yeah.
So that happens a lot too, where there's kind of a balance of both. Technology is going to be there. It's not going to change. It's going to continue. I think we all need to go into it eyes wide open.
Right. What about, though, too, like the technology is changing so quickly. So if something is state of the art now, you put it in, but 10 years later, like, is it?
2 years later, by the time you're done with the house, it's sometimes
it's
beyond.
Yeah. I don't know.
I went to tech, but I'm not the engineering side of computer science. I was in the one odd school.
It's an interesting, I think, because I hear a lot of people talking about the same thing in cars. And so I'm always just curious what, being so classical in your style, how that works with the technology side too,
Well, we need to embrace it for our clients. And I think, our work is very traditional, but we also it needs to live with the way we live now.
Right.
So, we have to embrace all that. And it really is a client by client discussion. Because it's all over the board.
Yeah.
Do y'all have all of your lights and stuff programmed to your phone?
I do.
You do?
I do, but I'm the only person in our family that knows how to do it and knows how to fix it if it goes offline.
Yeah.
And
so when you're on vacation, it goes down.
Yeah, the family's sitting in the house without you. You're like, well, light a candle.
You know what? No, they can manually turn the switches on.
Yeah,
it's totally fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll survive.
It's totally fine. Yeah.
You have a lot of.
Yeah, we like them, but I just like it because.
Yeah.
But yes, we have to know how to say, "Hey Google, turn on whatever the room name is," and then half the time she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about," and you're like,
"Right,
who are you?"
Thank you.
My Google only understands me if I talk in a ridiculous voice. Otherwise, it doesn't understand me. So I have to really use
like a really theatrical voice.
Yes.
So can you give us an example?
Give us the voice? Yeah.
Yeah, you knew you were walking into this one.
She lined up.
Like, oh no. No. Sometimes I just use a really kind of I used to do it. Really,
do it.
Okay, so we can cut this, right?
No.
Yes, we can.
Yeah,
sure.
No, sometimes I'm like, "Hey Google, turn off the kitchen light," and then it'll turn it off. Otherwise, it won't recognize my regular everyday voice. And now it just turned off my kitchen light. Thank you.
That's right. You're going, let's turn on
all of our listeners' kitchen lights. Thank you.
God, that's amazing. I feel like we got it in there. Yeah. I can't top that. But we do have a decorating dilemma, actually. Are you up for it, Tim?
I will do my best. I'm an architect, not a decorator, though.
That's true. Well, she's asking for paint color, so we're sort of in that middle ground.
Right.
And if you do a terrible job answering, we'll ask the next person we have on.
Perfect. You just edit it right out.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
This is actually from Jamie, and I think Jamie has written in multiple times. So hi again, Jamie. Thanks for writing in. Okay. Hello, ladies. I would love your help with a paint color for my entry. I know it's difficult to definitively recommend paint color, but even ballparking a color would be helpful. I've been staring at this for 4 years, and I did find a Ballard product to occupy some of the space, but it really needs a color. Green, neutral, yellow, peach. Any tips would be great. It's east facing, gets lots of natural light. I want it to feel warm and welcoming. Thank you. Yes, she put our Valletta sconces on the wall.
So pretty.
And it's, y'all, you've all seen this space before. It's the double height entryway with the big old chandelier. She did a great job picking a good big scale chandelier that's can be a challenge. And the second floor landing is open to the entryway. Looks sort of like an off-white color right now.
Yeah, is it off-white or is it got a little green tint to it?
A little cream.
Or is that just the print?
And she chose the sconces that have a real patina to them. There's like a real earthiness to them and tradition to them.
They get some gray and brown on them. Yeah.
And she has sort of a, what would y'all say, mid-tone oak banister and rail.
Well, something I do a lot of with our clients is we paint the railing black. It's kind of it's a traditional, very traditional thing. Gosh, a color. I would look to the sconces and pull something that's a little kind of warmer, moodier. I think it's going to help bring the scale of that space down if it's something that's a little bit darker. I don't know a color because I'd have to pull out the fan book because that's how I work. I'm not in this world all the time. But I think if you pull that out and get something that's moodier and darker, it's going to really kind of soften that space considerably. That's my answer. If I need a color, I'll need a fan book.
Yeah.
I feel like color's so personal.
It's one, and
we have two sconces in here and a chandelier, like of truth. She can. The sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Like you truly, if you had an art piece to pair it with, a rug that you could pull colors.
This is hard because what's happening to the left through the opening, what's behind us. Obviously, it's going up to the upstairs. But knowing that there's some volume here, if you're really trying to make an impact, get something that's moody. It's going to really kind of, and I think that'll actually enhance the sconces and the chandelier. It's going to kind of make them become more important.
What about a wallpaper? Because here's the problem with this space. I feel like you have so much height, and you're not going to hang anything up there. And then there is sort of this space in between the sconces on either side of both of them that's like dead space. She needs a lot more happening on the wall, I feel like, to balance the volume.
Right.
So maybe a wallpaper would kind of draw your eye up some more, but you're not hanging like a million little things on the wall up the stairs.
Yeah. It could. It just depends on what's happening past that landing.
Yeah.
Like where does it go?
It
How
needs
does
to
it
tie
end?
in. Yeah.
And do you want to draw people's eye up? I almost think you don't.
You don't.
I think you want to draw people's eye back into the house. Is my thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love a good wall covering, but I think
depends how much. Yeah, and if it keeps going, like you said,
right.
landing.
If
it's huge and there's no stopping point, now you're buying a lot of wallpaper.
Yeah.
That's true. It wouldn't be. Yeah. It wouldn't be the most cost-effective method for sure.
No, I think that's really great to kind of think back to like bringing it down to like a human scale and bringing it into a little bit more intimate, which is I think something that you do in the homes that you're building. I've noticed a lot of them have really tall ceilings or really tall doorways that end up, but you use an earthier color or earthier materials to kind of bring it back down into a human scale.
Yeah, the natural materials and the wood and the plasters really help kind of help us connect.
Yeah.
It's back to what I said earlier. You feel it.
Yeah.
You do feel these things.
I shouldn't ask this, but I feel like a little bit of like some trim and millwork right here, like behind the stair rail.
Oh, if you could do a wainscoting in there, it make a huge difference.
I feel like that would maybe add, if this is her entry and she's really just trying to make it like a little more depth, that could add
break up that expansive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that might help it again for you to focus on something else. I know she didn't ask that, but classically, we'll give you more than you asked for.
No,
there's nothing wrong with that. You can build on it.
That's
and it could be, to do that,
right?
you can do it fairly simple with applied molding, and then that could be a different color that helps break the scale of that.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of the moodiness. I think that would be real pretty. Yeah.
I think it would really soften the space, and I think it would kind of embrace you a little bit more when you come into it.
So would you paint the trim and like the stair risers and where would you end and begin?
Well, yeah, I think once you pick that main wall color, you're going to want to look at your trim color. I mean, another suggestion is a stair runner on the stairs. That just always helps. What I would recommend is take the sconces, build a color off of that, and then build a color palette and look at, stair runner, look at your trim color.
Yeah.
Because if you do a moody color, then I think where you're headed, and the trim's stark white, that's not what you want either.
Right.
You need to kind of now
Mm-hmm.
pull that color back a little bit. So,
Yeah, because then your eye just goes. Yeah.
Then your ceiling doesn't want to be just a ceiling white at that point. It can still be lighter, but it doesn't want to be that much of a contrast.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we'll mix a little bit of the color from the wall into the ceiling to kind of soften that down a little bit.
I love that idea. Yeah. There's like some shades of blue in the sconce. It's like a gray blue.
Does it have some?
Well,
Yeah,
it's a chippy. It's like a chippy gray blue finish.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a little blue undertone to the gray, so I do think the blue would be pretty. Yeah, or like brownie.
So many good options.
I know. Yeah. Good luck, Jamie. Sorry, I don't know if we answered
Send more
your
photos.
question.
Yeah, send more photos if you want a more in-depth wall. Yeah.
I think more photos would be very helpful because understanding what's the whole context. I mean, there's so much more that can change all of these decisions.
Yeah.
Or impact them.
Just like your site visits.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. A lot of times I'll go to a site and have one thing in mind based on the survey, and they get them like,
yeah.
No, flips it all around.
Yeah. Tim, can you tell everyone where they can find you, follow you, and see your work and get your book?
Yes. The book is available on Amazon. You can probably have it tomorrow if you ordered it today. It's there. We're actually on our second printing, which is exciting.
Oh, that is.
Congratulations.
So that's kind of a big deal. Our website is tsadamstudio.com. And then our Instagram is, I think it's TS Adams Studio. I should know this.
You know what? It is TS Adams Studio.
Perfect.
There you go.
You can find us. We're on Pinterest. We don't really do house anymore. It kind of went a different direction for what we're doing. But that's kind of where you find us.
All right, great.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
It really was. And that's our show. You can find all of the show notes on our blog, howtodecorate.com/podcast.
To send in a decorating dilemma, email your questions to podcast@ballarddesigns.net so we can help you with your space.
And of course, be sure to follow us on social media at Ballard Designs.
Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And please leave us a review. We'd love to hear your feedback.
Until next time, happy decorating.